Sometimes kindness doesn't start with a plan. It begins with a memory you can't let go. Late afternoon settled over the quiet grocery store, rain tapping softly against the wide glass windows. A single dad, Ethan Carter, stood before the flower display, rows of tulips, daisies, and fading roses. Each bloom glowed beneath cold white light, carrying stories of love, loss, and gentle remembrance. He wore a worn jacket, paint stains on the sleeves, hands calloused from long, honest work. Beside him, his daughter Lila, 8 years old, hummed softly, swinging her legs from the cart. "Daddy, who are the flowers for?" she asked, her small voice breaking the hush around them. Ethan smiled faintly, eyes distant, as though remembering something only his heart could still hear. "Someone who might need them more than us today," he said, voice soft but certain. He chose a simple bouquet, not the fancy kind, just wild blooms wrapped gently in paper. He placed them carefully beside a carton of milk, as if they carried fragile meaning. At checkout, the young cashier, Sophie, scanned the flowers and paused, her smile kind but curious. "They're beautiful," she said quietly. "Special occasion?" Ethan hesitated, eyes lowering slightly, his voice carrying that quiet ache of a man who's endured loss. "Not exactly," he replied. He thanked her, nodded once, and left, the sliding doors whispering closed behind him. Through the window, Sophie watched as he stepped into the gray drizzle without an umbrella. Outside, the world slowed, the street shimmering under rain, headlights painting gold on wet pavement. The windshield wipers moved in rhythm with the soft hum of Lila S. tired breathing in the back seat. At a red light, Ethan noticed her, an elderly woman sitting at a bus stop in the rain, her groceries beside her, her head bowed, tears hidden beneath the trembling shelter of her hands. "Daddy," Lila whispered. "She looks sad." Ethan followed her gaze, his heart tightening. "Yeah, sweetheart, she does." The light turned green. Cars behind him honked. But Ethan didn't move. He took a slow breath, turned the wheel, and pulled over near the bench. Rain met his face as he stepped out, holding the bouquet carefully, almost reverently. The woman looked up, startled, fear flickering in her eyes. "Ma'am, sorry to bother you," he said softly, extending the flowers. "These are for you." Her eyes widened. "For me? Why?" Ethan's voice caught in his throat before steadying, his words coming from somewhere deep and tender. "Because someone once gave flowers to my wife when she was sitting just like this," he said. "She was crying too. The flowers helped her smile again. Maybe they'll help you too." For a moment, the world around them faded into the sound of rain and soft breathing. The woman trembled, her lips parting as her composure broke like glass under gentle truth. "My husband passed last week," she whispered, her voice shaking. "I was just going home alone." Ethan's eyes softened, full of knowing. "I'm sorry," he murmured. "I know how that feels." Her fingers clutched the bouquet as if it were the last warm thing in the world. Tears ran down her face, mingling with the rain, while Lila waved shyly from the car window. For a brief, fragile moment, kindness became visible, glowing quietly between three strangers in the rain. And as Ethan returned to his car, the bouquet brightened the grayness of the day behind him. A simple act had become a memory, one that would ripple quietly beyond what he'd ever know. "Sometimes," the voiceover whispered, "the smallest gestures carry the heaviest echoes. Because kindness doesn't end with the giver. It keeps traveling, one heart at a time." Soft piano plays, rain falls, the world fades to black. Night settled softly over the small town, streetlights glowing like tired stars after the rain had gone. Inside their modest apartment, Ethan placed his muddy boots by the door and hung his jacket to dry. Lila sat at the kitchen table, drawing something with colored pencils, two stick figures holding flowers. Her eyes lifted. "Daddy, did that lady smile?" Ethan nodded faintly, though his expression carried the quiet weight of memories buried deep inside. "She did, sweetheart." She smiled through her tears, he said, stirring sugar into his coffee absent-mindedly. He sat beside her, watching her small hands color in bright red tulips against a gray sky. "Mommy liked flowers too," Lila said suddenly, voice innocent but heavy with missing someone she barely remembered. Ethan's hand froze mid-air. For a moment, time itself felt fragile. "Yeah," he whispered, his voice trembling slightly. "She loved daisies. Said they reminded her of sunshine." The room fell quiet, except for the hum of the old refrigerator and the soft scratching of Lila's pencil. Outside, thunder rumbled faintly, far away, the kind that sounds more like a memory than a storm. Ethan stood, walking to the small wooden shelf where a single-framed photo rested. It was of him, his wife, and a younger Lila, laughter frozen forever in a time that would never return. He touched the frame gently, eyes misting. "You'd have liked her, Lila," he murmured. "Your mom was kindness itself." He remembered that day, 3 years ago, the hospital room filled with wilting flowers and fading hope. His wife, Claire, had smiled weakly, holding his hand as the nurses changed her IV. "I want you to promise me something," she had said, her voice soft but steady even in weakness. "Promise me you'll keep giving flowers, even when it hurts, especially then." He had smiled through tears, not fully understanding. "Flowers?" She nodded, eyes glimmering. "Because flowers don't fix the pain, but they remind us that beauty still grows after loss." Those were her last words before the silence that followed, a silence Ethan carried every single day since. Now, standing in that small kitchen years later, he finally understood what she meant. The act wasn't about flowers, it was about hope, fragile, ordinary, but powerful enough to save someone's day. He turned toward Lila, who had fallen asleep on the table, her drawing complete. Two figures under the rain, one giving flowers, the other smiling through tears. He smiled sadly and brushed her hair from her forehead, whispering, "That's Mommy's spirit in you, kiddo." The next morning, sunlight spilled through the curtains, soft, forgiving, full of quiet renewal. Ethan packed Lila's lunch, added a small daisy from their balcony pot into her bag. "For your teacher," he said. "Just a little thank you." Lila grinned. "Like Mommy said, flowers make hearts happy." He nodded, unable to speak for a moment because the words were too sacred to touch. And as they left for school, the scent of that single daisy lingered, faint, sweet, eternal. A promise kept, a memory honored, and a kindness reborn. Sometimes the flowers we give aren't just gifts, they re-bridges to the ones we lost. And through giving, we learn that love never truly leaves. It simply changes form. A week later, the town woke to gentle sunshine, the kind that melts rain from rooftops and fills windows with light. Ethan's days had returned to their quiet rhythm. Work, chores, school runs, and those small silences between heartbeats. But something inside him had shifted, like a closed window cracked open after years of still air. That morning, as he dropped Lila off at school, she hugged him tight, whispering, "Don't forget to smile today, Daddy." He laughed softly. "You sound just like your mom." Later, at the hardware store where he worked, Ethan was repairing a customer's old ladder when the front bell chimed. A familiar face stepped in, the elderly woman from the bus stop, her hands clutching a small paper bag. "Mr. Carter?" she asked hesitantly. He turned, surprised, wiping his hands on a rag. "Ma'am? Oh, hello again." She smiled, her eyes brighter than before, though traces of sadness still lingered in the corners. "I hope I'm not disturbing you," she said softly. "I just wanted to return something." Ethan frowned lightly. "Return something?" She opened the bag and carefully took out a fresh bouquet, the same kind he had given her, soft white daisies, wrapped in brown paper. "I bought these for you," she said, voice trembling, "because your kindness helped me through my darkest day. I wanted you to know it mattered." Ethan froze. For a moment he couldn't speak. His throat tightened, and his hands shook slightly. He looked at the daisies, his wife's favorite, and something deep within him cracked open, quietly, beautifully. I don't know what to say," he murmured. "You didn't have to." "I know," she said with a warm, fragile smile. "But kindness doesn't stop where it's given. It circles back, just like this." Ethan's eyes filled with tears he didn't bother to hide. He took the flowers gently, inhaling their scent. Fresh, sweet, alive. For the first time in years, they didn't just remind him of loss. They reminded him of love continuing its journey. Lila's laughter echoed in his memory. His wife's voice whispered faintly in his heart. He looked up at the woman. "Thank you," he said, voice trembling. "You've done more than you know." She reached out, squeezing his hand. "So did you." As she left, sunlight poured through the shop window, catching the petals in a golden glow. Ethan stood there, still holding the bouquet, his reflection soft in the glass. That evening, he and Lila visited the cemetery, the quiet hill overlooking the town. He knelt by Claire's grave, brushing away the fallen leaves. "Hey, love," he whispered. "The flowers came back today." Lila placed a small daisy beside the headstone, smiling. "Hi, Mommy. Daddy's been giving your flowers again." The wind stirred gently, carrying the faint scent of daisies through the air. Ethan closed his eyes, letting the warmth of the sun and the ache of memory mix into something peaceful. "I finally get it," he murmured. "You were right. Flowers don't fix the pain, but they help it bloom into love again." Lila leaned against him, small hand clutching his. "Daddy," she said softly, "can we buy more flowers tomorrow?" He smiled through tears, brushing her cheek. "Yeah, sweetheart. Tomorrow. And maybe the day after that, too." As they walked back toward the car, the horizon burned gold and rose, the colors of endings that feel like beginnings. Behind them, the flowers on the grave swayed gently, like they were listening. The same daisies Claire once held, the same love that never died. Sometimes, what we give away returns to us in ways we never imagined, and in those moments we realize kindness was never lost. It was just finding its way home.